My name is Prashant, and I'm currently working for one of the MNC company here, and I'm an automation lead. So my job is to do automation of the infrastructure
Uh,
of.
just just one thing, Prashant. I can
Yeah,
hear some voice. Some music is playing in the background. Uh, not sure if everybody else is also hearing the same voice or it's only
yeah.
me.
I think it is from different location. It's not from my side.
So
Even
how
I'm
we
hearing
can
that.
stop that voice?
I think it has stopped now. Is it okay?
No, for me it has not stopped. I've just muted, and that's why you are unable to listen it. But
Yeah,
I
we are
can
not
hear
able
it
to
all the
hear
time.
anything.
I'm not sure. Okay, now it's gone. Thanks.
Okay. So so this is the first class, right, with everyone. So I just wanted your introduction. So, what is your expectation and what you guys are doing? So, this is our first training session, right?
Yes, first session.
Yeah. So, can you just brief about yourself? So, are you guys are students or a professional, or where are you working, or you some looking for some job in the coming time? So, accordingly, I will tune my lectures and demonstrations, right?
Prashant, if
So,
all of us we will introduce ourselves, it will take long time.
mhm.
So my understanding was that we are going to go through the course outline in this session, and for me it's just a demo session. If you want
Okay.
me to introduce ourselves, it's okay. We can do it, but it will take some time to get the introduction from 15
No,
people.
no, that's fine. So I just wanted an overall. So you guys are working somewhere, or you just wanted to have a training so that you can get a some job like that.
Yes, actually, I'm a DevOps engineer. So I work for a company. I started almost like 9 months ago, and I'm
Okay,
interested in this training, especially for automate some task.
okay,
So I'm really interested in it, but I'm working as a DevOps
mhm,
engineer for now.
okay, okay, great. Yeah, yeah, so that's fine. So basically, I am also a DevOps engineer right now, and I'm doing automation of the infrastructure, the servers, and over the like multiple tools I have, like over the AWS cloud, over the Azure, over the vCenter. Okay, so I'm just going through an overview. So based on the discussion, I can tune my lectures upcoming time. Okay, so now here, if we'll go just with the DevOps CI/CD, so I think people should be aware of the CI/CD basically. So here, it is a concept that is introduced. So like using the CI, this means basically continuous integration, and this means a continuous delivery. So integration means that like whenever so this concept is basically DevOps means the development and plus the operations. So here both the teams sits together, they understand the environment, they understand the discussion, what needs to be automated, what needs to be developed, and that's the integration of both the teams. And we how we achieve in the AWS or in the Azure, we achieve it through the pipeline, through the code. So if I need to build some code here, so once the code is built, once I have committed it, so it will go to the release branch, right? It will go to the deploy operation team will do it, and it will be monitored it. So here it's the complete cycle, and for each of the cycle there are almost dozens of technologies, dozens of tools being used, right? So like suppose I want to build the code, so I can use Azure DevOps pipeline, or I can use for the AWS Azure code build, deploy, git commit. right? So this can be done from here. If I need to do operations, or I can use here like Ansible, or I can use here Splunk. If I need to monitor, I can use Dynatrace, AppDynamics, ELK. So various tools can be fitted here. So it itself is a very big thing just to understand how it works. Okay. So as I discussed that, why we need the current CI/CD pipeline, because we don't want to work in a monolithic, right? So earlier you might be understanding that when there was such a requirement comes from the client, and and people work in a silos, right? Some requirements came from the client might be 6 months back. Now when the team starts working, so by the time the product is ready to the market, uh, the expectation gets changed, because it takes a lot of time for the development to understand the requirement. So till the time we understand it, we start working on that, the requirements get changed. So what we thought, that instead of working in a monolithic programming, now we are working in a sprint model, right? So sprints means that basically whatever our job is, that we used to break that job in a sprint, and the sprint is nothing like 1 week or 2 week. That's the smallest unit of work. Whenever by achieving that we can deliver to a customer. So it doesn't work that it could meet the whole requirement, but at least the customer can start working on it. So instead of waiting for the end-to-end complete production, so at least if I can deliver some bits and pieces of the requirement or of the software to the customer can start working into that. And meanwhile, in the time within the different release versions, I can just keep adding those versions, right? So this is the way how currently the industry is working. Even in the automation, like suppose I'm automating that using this pipeline you can provision a Windows machine, right? So might be that is the pipeline I provided to the end user. Now the end user is using it. Might be in the upcoming 1 to 2 sprints I can add that, okay, along with the Windows server you can add some storage also, right? By the end, along with the storage you can create some service now records also with the same server. You can add in the backup also. It means that this is the way how we are currently doing it, and there are various tools helping for that. Okay, so this is the way we are approaching. Okay, so you can see here that it refers to the continuous integration, continuous delivery. So we don't need to wait actually. Once our code is written, committed, so when I will write the code, so we will write, we can choose any of the thing. But right now we can discuss what the things, like either we can go for Azure, uh, Azure pipeline, or with using the AWS commit. So we can write the code, and we can define the trigger, how on what trigger the pipeline should run. If I have committed the code, if I have done any changes, so after the commit, it should run. It can be manual as well as automated, right? So that this decides how we write the code, right? So we will follow the structure, what the structure of the pipeline constitutes of, right? So it consists of multiple jobs, then tasks, different stages, right? So stages means nothing like in which stage you want to perform the task, like either in the develop or in the QA. Develop means basically a development, QA means in the user acceptance level of testing, and production is just like production for the end user, for the client that to be used. So we have the different phases of the release cycle, right? Then after the testing, obviously that is done in the dev environment, then it's released, then deploy. So deploy is nothing like a software, then it's an end product, what does need to be deployed to the target. It can be application, or it can be any resource, right? Or then after the operations, the operation team will operate it, monitor it, right? So this is the way whole cycle goes in. But yeah, going forward we will discuss more on the granular level, right? So I'm just going through it, the AWS CI/CD. Okay, so okay, so basically, like you can see here, like we used to do the commit. Okay, so commit is means that when I have written the code, it is done. Now I'm trying to commit it with some message that okay, I have written the piece of code. Now I have done with the changes. Now I want to commit it. Then it comes like merge and automatically release. So merging means that I'm merging my code to the earlier code. If I want to do some bug fixes or add some line of code or do some additional features addition. So after that, in code we used to merge it, that we call. Then build means that when we have actually merged the code, then it triggers the pipeline and the pipeline executes. So whatever we have, the source code is into the repository, and the repository can be anything. It could be the code can be located on the Azure DevOps or over the Git or some third party like any Atlassian uh, Gate or Bit Bit bucket or some other things like different repositories. It can be integrated, right? So once I committed it, the code is merged with the build, and it downloads the code actually from whatever the source. So that is a way of how can you integrate your code with different source, right? Then it comes to the deployment. So now my code is done, right? And I want to just deploy this to the target, to the production environment, to the customer, right? So we'll put the deploy. Then it comes the automation, automated tested. So here in the case of testing, suppose I have an end product, a server, it's got created. I wanted to test some functionality on that. So might be in the develop environment, I can run some task, right? Just to see whether the server is having a proper disk or not, or suppose I provision one server with having http enabled on that, right? And so how can I test it? So I can fire some commands on the server, or from the server I can do some open some browser through automated. That's why we can see that whether the server and product is able to listen on the particular product or not. Okay, so that is the way how can we see it. So this is the like a CI/CD orchestrator pipeline that we discuss. So you can see here we can use the Jenkins also as a CI/CD pipeline, or we can use the Bitbucket also, or the GitLab. Also, we have been using the Azure DevOps pipeline or the Bamboo. So we have different CI/CD pipelines. So it's a concept that can be implemented over the multiple tools. As in the today market, we have multiple CI/CD tools being applied, but we will choose a particular one that is more industry standards, mostly adopted. But yeah, that the concept can be replicated over the other tools, right? So as of now, in currently my company, we prefer the Azure DevOps pipeline. And using the Azure DevOps pipeline, I can provision server to any of the target. Like I am using Azure DevOps pipeline, I am provisioning server over the vCenter, that is the on-prem, and over different geographies. Using Azure DevOps, I am provisioning server over the AWS cloud. I am using Azure DevOps, I am provisioning server over the Azure, over the Azure cloud itself. So this is the way of integration, how you integrate it, right? How you integrate a particular Azure DevOps with the different target platforms, right? And also, as I mentioned, that you need to write the code. So code will basically it will you will define it how what your code is about and what are the different stages. So even you need to decide what number of stage I should put, right? You will break down the stage. Okay, so let me draw some figure. Okay, below, then after I will come to that one. Okay. So like here, as I told you that we can use the GitLab also for the CI/CD. Azure DevOps, I mentioned that it is most widely used, right? Also we have the Azure CI/CD pipeline for the AWS, that we call as the AWS code. So there you can run some CI/CD pipeline. But yeah, so these are some natives that are provided by their own cloud, right? Own cloud providers. Okay. Okay. So now why we use the actually CI/CD? because now you don't want to do a kind of monolithic programming. Okay, let me try to do it over the some sheet here. Okay, so suppose just an a very
Hello.
small yeah, hello.
Yeah, this is fun here.
Yeah, yeah, tell me.
Hello. Yeah, I just joined this session. So, can you tell me after this session, like what we are going to cover in this in this module?
Yeah. So this is it's the first lecture right now. So I'm just
Uh-huh.
going over the hello.
Uh-huh, yeah, tell me.
Yeah. So this is the first introduction level. So I'm just trying to understand the people what they are doing and what is their expectation. So going forward, we will try to learn about the CI/CD concept based on the AWS, and we will try to learn some other tools. Let me open that, like Ansible or Terraform. So that will help you basically to understand that how can I configure my resource. Okay, so like there are
So,
many configurations.
how we can automate this all the day to day tasks means using which tools like Python? Through Python, or we are going to like automate these things or what? Like,
Hmm. So yeah, so you can do using Python, or you can use Terraform, you can use AWS, or you can use any scripting language like Python. So here that depends that what you are trying to automate, right? So suppose first of all, we are doing here the continuous integration that we are doing through, like suppose the Azure, like the Azure pipeline, right? So suppose I want to do integration of a server, that once a user triggers a pipeline, then the server should be provisioned, right? So now you just decide that I need to provision one server, right? And So for the resource provisioning, we would be using the Terraform, right? So like once we'll go for the Terraform, I will show you that using Terraform how you can let me open my, okay, just let me open my account. I can show you the pipeline. Okay.
Hey Prashant, we are more interested in what are the topics that are covered. Say, for example, are we going to cover Azure? Are we going to cover AWS? Are we going to do Terraform deployments on the both, or only one platform? Or how exactly these things are? What are the topics that are covered? So I think that would be more helpful at this point of time for us.
Yeah. So yeah. So basically, when it comes to the automation, right? So I know it's very vast thing, but what I can tell you that just allow me 1 minute. I will show you. Then I will continue my discussion. Okay, just give me 1 minute.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is the practical. I will try to show you. Okay. So what I will do you for the every people, our target is that we wanted to create a pipeline. We wanted to provision a resource, right, inside this cloud. So this cloud is basically Azure cloud, and here I will be using this pipeline, right? This pipeline. So by triggering the pipeline, I will show how it is creating the resource, right? So this is the pipeline to create a VM, right? So that I have run for multiple times. Okay. So using this pipeline, how can you provision a resource, right? Okay. I will not take much time, but I will just give you an overview, right? See, now you just need to understand this is not right now I'm going to tell how you are going to achieve it, but this should be our target, and as in training I should be able to provide you information, and you should by knowing that you should be having the capability that you can use to provision a resource in any cloud, right? So, as asked by you guys, so what I'm going to tell you that I will try to tell you to how to create the pipeline, what is about this Azure DevOps, right? And how, see here I'm just doing my, this is the pipeline, this is my pipeline code, right? Let me do it. Let me just allow me. Okay, so you can see it's a pipeline, right? As I mentioned you from starting that we are defining here stages, right? Different stages. So how it should be triggered? What are the different stages? So inside these stages, we would be having the multiple jobs, right? What actually you are trying to do, right? And how you are going to provision resource. That I'm getting to provision using the Terraform, right? Because this Terraform we would be using to build a resource, that, and as you might be knowing, that Terraform is the widely accepted resource provisioning tool over the industry, right? There are also things also, but it is mostly used because suppose
So,
you just wanted.
what is the course outline, Prashant? Do we have a course outline?
Yeah, so over the course, I am going to try and to understand you about the pipeline, what's the basic of the pipeline, how you can create the pipeline, right? And also how you are going to use the Terraform to provision a resource, right? So if you will go in, you see in the repository that we would be using this Terraform actually. Right. So how you are going to provision resource, how you are so how end to end how you are going to use this pipeline to provision a resource using Terraform. So that is my whole as an overview the course outline that I'm going to segregate it over the days over the time, and I will show you starting from the basics that how you can create the pipeline, what are the different stages, how you are going to use this Terraform, and eventually when I will run the pipeline, you will see here that how my resource is getting provisioned here over the AWS,
So,
over the Azure
do we
cloud.
have a course outline in a written format somewhere? Prashant, do we have
Uh,
some document which shows the course outline?
yeah, so it's my first lecture. So actually, I'm
Okay,
just trying
okay.
to show you the overview. But yeah,
Yep.
see, even I came to right now know that what your expectation is. So you
Yep.
guys trying to know how you can automate, right? So as
So,
an overview, I
best
can.
thing
Yeah.
would be, Prashant, best thing
Hmm,
would be that we get a
hmm,
course outline, which will
hmm,
outline all the topics which will be covered in this course, and you can share that course outline with us. If that is something which we want to learn, we will continue it, or we can decide on our own. So, if we could have a look on the course outline in a written format, that will be
hmm, hmm.
helpful, I think.
Yeah, I will do that. There is no I will know, but I expect you that you guys are professional, right? And what you expecting that after learning this course you should be able to work in an industry where you can provision resource, right? So as an overview, as an just very small in a basic, my course overview is to show about the how the Azure DevOps is about. So how you inside this, what do you mean by organizations, how you can create a different projects, what do you mean by projects, how you can establish your connection with the projects to this, like suppose the Azure Git here. So how you can integrate it actually, how can you use both the platforms as a pipeline, as an Azure portal, right? So just
So,
an example here. Yeah.
Prasant, so this is more about like Azure DevOps, and you are covering few of the topics related to Terraform to create VMs and virtual network. That's it, right? Or
No,
anything
no, no.
more specific to Terraform is here?
See, I'm using Terraform to create the entire resource. So that resource, not only the VNet, but the server with the virtual networks, with the storage, with the Terraform state file, everything would be getting created here, right? So
Okay.
it's about the whole resource. What you are going to trying to create an create a resource actually. But yeah, using different module because Terraform can do a lot of things. So you just by changing the code, changing the resource type, you can create any resource. Like you can create some load balancer, or you can create some other blob storage. You can do it. So right now you can see in this resource in the inside the container, that is the blob. I will be creating one a blob actually that will be storing the state file of this Terraform, right? So it how I can show how can it be safe that if you are putting the that state file over the cloud, so that if you want to recover that server in the future, you can use this state file. So basically, if the course is going to be long because I need to tell you about what is an organization, what are the different organization settings here, right? And how you are going to create a new organization, and inside the organization you can create multiple projects. So how projects communicate with each other. So you can see here this is one of the project. So when you will go inside this project, you can see that how this
Yeah,
project is
Prashant,
using.
what you're trying to say to us is fine, but what we are trying to get from you is, so when you are talking about the Terraform, so what are the components that are you going to touch in the part of Terraform? Are you going to, build the automation using AWS, Azure? What are the backend tools? We are talking also about the Python. Okay, so where
Mhm.
exactly the Python comes in and how useful for us, or where exactly are we going to use, and how it is
Mhm.
better when we use it along with Terraform.
Mhm.
Okay, so what are the tools that are involved? What are the knowledge that are prerequisite for us to be able to, proceed further on this? So these are the conditions which we want to understand.
Mhm.
So with
Yeah.
CI/CD, that's fine. That's a part of the class, but it's not the only thing that we want to know. So
Mhm.
at this stage, we want to know what are the technologies that you are going to explain to us in this course completely.
Okay.
As an example,
Yeah.
as I said, are you going to use the Terraform completely on Azure or AWS? How exactly these things are going to, or both, or any other platform? So what are the other technologies that are involved? So we would like to get that information so that, we can decide if it is really
Yeah.
useful for us or not.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. So basically, you can use
Hope you
Terraform
understand
for
this,
any.
right?
Yeah, yeah, no, that's fine. See, I just wanted to know what
Yes.
is your expectation. That is good, right? So that's why instead of just putting hard coded, that I'm going to teach you this only. So even it could make sense you or not. That is also the thing. That's why I'm not hard coded. I wanted to see what are the major people you wanted. Okay, but yeah, directly coming to the point. So as I told you that you can use Terraform for any resource, and just one see inside this repository I'm using this Terraform, right? You can see here this is the data.tf, variable.tf, and the main.tf. So as you ask me that where I'm going to use that Terraform, see this Terraform can be used for the Azure or AWS or any of the cloud. The code is going to be the same only, because whatever the provider I'm using, whatever the resource block I'm using here, it is going to be same. The what the difference is that how you are going to integrate it. So suppose in the variables.tf, if you are passing this, this is the resource group where you want to provision your VM. So that is the concept that will be used for Azure. So for the AWS, it can little change, like in which VPC you want to create the resource, in which AWS account you want to create, but everything other thing would be the same. And what the provider, what is the backend you are using. So here the backend I would be using of the Azure, but there would be like AWS. So most of the things would be same. So but what I'm trying to tell you, that how you can actually use Terraform to provision a resource, that should be the end goal. And after that, once you learn it, you can use for any of the cloud, right? So I'm going to tell you about the Terraform. Yeah, coming to another one, what other things you are expecting. So see, you can use Terraform just to provision a resource. Now you have a server, right? But what next? Just using a server, whether the server is capable of whether that server meets any client requirement, whether it is compliant or any some additional packages you want to install it. In short, do you want to configure your server with some any tools, like if you want to install some package like Flexera or CloudStrike or any particular, so how you are going to learn it, how you are going to do it. So for that, most widely free tool that is used is the Ansible. So I can teach you the Ansible, that what how you are using Ansible to configure it. So yeah, so for my whole thing, I will trying to focus on Terraform. I will focus on the Python, how you can use Python here. But see, Python is an scripting language, but as an automation perspective, if you are trying to provision a resource, you have to use Terraform, right? So Terraform, that is written in a Go language. Once you will go to learn about the Python, that is written in the Python. Sorry, when you learn about the Ansible, that is written in a Python language, right? So all the modules of the Ansible are developed in the Python itself. But I can show you where you can use Python. So might be if you want to perform some custom task on the server by login, right? So in that case you can use Python also. But and also and touching for one of the cloud, you can use the cloud like Azure. So once you have the pipeline, the similar concept can be applied over the AWS also. So in short, what we are trying to cover, I mean that I can tune you as well, but what I'm trying to cover it about the Azure DevOps pipeline, how you can create a pipeline, right? The different concepts, what tool you are going to use the provision a resource, that is the Terraform. So I will teach you about the Terraform, how you can use Terraform to provision a resource, server, networks, groups, or whatever, right? Then after I can also tell you about what how you can use a configuration tool that could be probably best as an Ansible, right? That you can, that using that you can configure the tools. So suppose here you can see in the domain join, I have used the PowerShell. So what is trying to do, that I have provisioned the server using this DevOps pipeline. I use the Terraform as a resource provisioning tool, and now just to join this server over a domain, I'm using PowerShell. So here I can use Python also, right? Yeah. So yeah, this should, yeah, so this should be my like overall thing that I'm going to cover it. Okay, so hope it makes sense, and just mute if someone has unmuted it, some sound is coming. But yeah, so this is overall what I'm trying to make you understand. The course is going to be long, and I will break it into different parts. What I'm trying to cover it into different chapter with some experiment, with some practical sessions. I'll be running the pipeline. I can show you what how it is provisioning resource, right? So everything will be practical demo, industry standards that is needed, right? So basically, yeah. So these are the different, at least three tools, four tools I'm going to cover. One is the Azure DevOps pipeline, another is the Terraform, third is the Ansible, and the Python. So hope it makes sense. So can you let me know if that works for you? I can also go for AWS also. For the AWS also, I can provision some resource over the AWS also. But mostly I will try to cover Azure pipeline, Azure cloud. I mean. So hope it's okay. So can you let me know?
Yeah, hi Prashant.
Yes, yes. Tell me. Yeah.
Can we do horizontal and vertical scaling using the Terraform, or should we go for Ansible, or should we combine both of them?
See, and using Ansible, you cannot provision a resource. I mean, for provisioning, we are using the Terraform only. But if you want to create horizontal scaling or vertical scaling, so that comes to the functionality of the cloud itself. Like suppose for AWS, you can do auto scaling. So for that, you have to use Terraform, not Ansible. And also if you want to provision some EMR cluster, so in that cluster also you have to do the auto scaling. So that auto scaling would be done using the Terraform, not using Ansible.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah. See, guys, the course is going to be vast and resourceful, because like I will telling about additional thing about the Ansible. So that is a great tool that is used in many organizations. So you can configure a server like some task execution, some multiple, like I can show you at least in my current company we use 40 playbooks, right? That in term of Ansible we call them as a playbook. So playbooks are just a kind of scripts. So when you will run on the target server, right? So once you have provisioned the resource, that is fine. But after that, you have to configure the server. You have to like install some packages, or configure some DNS entry or domain joining or satellite configuration. So you have to do lot of things. So how you are trying to achieve it? So you are trying to do it through the Ansible. So Ansible will help you. It will I will connect the server. I will run some tasks. So there are different ad hoc commands and modules for it. So that I will discuss you. So regarding the YAML scripting, how you can script in the YAML, how you can write multiple playbooks, how you can install some application like Timecast, Apache, right? So these are different things you can run it. I will provide you about the roles concept, what how you can use role for to write a playbook in Ansible, the advanced concepts, right? Even you want to Docker, that you can see that if time allows it, we can go for it. But I'm just telling you guys, these topics are very hot, and it will take a good time. But I will try to provide you maximum things from the same thing. Okay, from the same uh, uh, from the same concepts. So by using these things, you would be able to provision resource in any cloud, right? And you can configure the server actually using the Ansible tool and using the Terraform, right? So this is what I'm trying to achieve it. And my goal would be like just to break the whole thing, like the CI/CD pipeline, stages, concepts, jobs, scripts. So I will break it. I will show you how you can write the code, or might be we can do practical session over the sharing the screen, and then after I will write the Terraform code here itself. So what does means by the backend? What actually does when backend means? What is we mean by the storage account here? When you will go to the pipeline, you can learn about what do you mean by the pipeline variables. So how it is picking the pipeline variables here. Let me show you. One second. So suppose this is the pipeline here. So there would be many things here. Like you would be encoding, you would be hard coding many things here. So how you are doing it? So these are the different pipeline variables. So you can see the disk name, the resource group name, the server name, VM size. So there could be 10 or 50s of these variables that are encoded inside the pipeline. And also you could be seeing here this see these values are getting called up here, like server name, or you can see many things that I'm hard coded. I'm just passing these as variable from the Azure DevOps pipeline to the Terraform. So in the practical exam, in the practical scenario, you are not going to pass it manually. So either you can use a postman to trigger the API, or you can run the pipeline itself directly. So it will take the inputs, and based on your input, so different resource groups are here. So that resource group I'm hard coding inside the pipeline variable. So it will show how actually it is running. When you trigger the pipeline, it pulls the value from the pipeline variable, it passes the value from the pipeline variable to the Terraform. And this Terraform, it's so here this pipeline is an umbrella kind of thing. So the pipeline calls the Terraform, or the Terraform can call use this PowerShell or Python. Once the resource is provisioned, it can call Ansible to configure the server. So it is going to be very fun, and just to learn how we can provision the resource. So I will show you everything, right? So the code. So you can see here once the different tasks involved when provisioning over the Azure. You can see that we have to install some AZ modules. So different modules would be required. So for the Terraform, you can see that for the different stages like the init, initialization. So what happens in the initialization, right? You can see here we are passing these different variables here, right? So like then it comes to the we are passing as the environment, in which environment we want to do it. We are segregating the pipeline over the stages, right? So once like in the Terraform, initialization is done, then the plan is done, then the apply is done. So what do you mean by this different stage, the different stages of the Terraform? So what Terraform is trying to do in all the stages, right? So there are many codes that I'm trying to do, but this cannot be work in the production right now here. So I've just keep it hash out. But once the server is provisioned, I'm trying to join the server in a particular domain. So for that, I am doing it here itself, right? So these are the post provisioning jobs. So once the survey is done, how you are trying to run some other things on that. Yeah. So it is going to be a lot of practical session understanding. So that will really make you to understand. And while trying to explain, I will also learn at the same time, because you guys will be asking some questions. So I'll be learning it, and I will come back to with the solution. Yeah. So this is the overall thing I'm trying to cover you actually. So if anyone has anything, any doubts or any some additional any feedback, so let me know please.
Hey, hi Prashant. Just wanted to understand if we need to have any prerequisite for Python scripting.
See, you can learn Python, right? Python would be one thing, and also you might be just try to learn about basics of what do you mean by the Azure DevOps pipeline, because see, over the cloud there are multiple things that, and when you will start for learning all the things at the same time, it would be difficult to grasp it. So just try to learn about the Azure DevOps. What is the Azure DevOps? About the pipeline. Then also try to learn about the Terraform. What is the Terraform? What it does actually, right? So this is a very good tool. This is very used by any most of the clients, because if you will learn
Mhm.
Azure deploy or the AWS code, so those are very cloud specific. They cannot be used over multiple cloud. If you learn any resource provisioning tool that is using only for Azure or AWS, so what if the company has changed your cloud? So but if you are learning, if you have the knowledge of the Terraform, it can be used for multiple clouds. So you can see here the backend is the Azure RM. It means whatever the plugins it is downloading from the Azure remote machine, from the Azure remote. When I will go for AWS, I will just change this backend. So you can just see that there are hundreds of Terraform. Terraform.
No, I mean the thing is, I'm working as a DevOps engineer and I'm aware of Terraform. So I just wanted to I just wanted to understand regarding the Python because I'm not aware of the shell scripting. So do we have to have any prior experience on the shell scripting by any chance?
Yes, scripting would be needed because uh, I mean, either it can be done using Ansible or shell scripting both. But in some cases, shell scripting is needed. Right? Might be
Okay.
if you can just yeah. But in my current company, I'm using Ansible only to run tasks
Mhm.
for the Windows or Linux machine, any machine. So Ansible is sufficient there. Very less I'm using PowerShell. But if you have background of that, then it will be helpful.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. And so do you are you guys using a Terraform in your company currently?
Yes. Yes. We are using Terraform.
Okay. Okay. So how many of you use Terraform? Just a few one, or like or many of them are trying to learn about the Terraform like that, or everyone are professional, or some are students also. Might be if you can just ping or something, just an idea. So if all you guys have worked on the Terraform, so I can start on the next level, or if you are guys are new to the Terraform or Azure DevOps pipeline, I can start from the basics. So just an I can get some hint into that, so I can tune my course as per that. So once you are leaving the class, you can just ping in the chat that what currently you are doing and what is your expertise on that. might be Terraform or Azure DevOps, anyone. So if most of people are fresher, then I can start from the basics. So I can just tune my course as per that.
I worked on Ansible, but I don't know Terraform.
Okay.
Prashant. So,
Okay. Okay.
is that knowledge enough for to learn Terraform, or what is the difference there?
Right. So Terraform is basically a resource provisioning. So resource provisioning means when you are trying to provision a resource. See, Ansible is idempotent, right? Idempotent means that even you have stopped a service or started a service, Ansible will see. But Ansible can provision a resource. But suppose you provision a resource with Ansible now, but you don't know what is the state of that resource. But but when you go with the Terraform, and the Terraform stores the state of that instance using the state file, right? And whenever you are trying to add resource, it will look with your current resource and what the number of resources you are trying to achieve it. That is not available in the Ansible. So that's why we use Ansible for the resource configuration. That's why we call as Ansible as a resource configuration tool. So there are many things available in the market like Puppet, Chef, or Ansible. So so that's why over the whole industry you will not see Ansible to provision a resource. You will use Terraform only to provision a resource. And also using Terraform, you can provision resource for any of the cloud, any resource. Like you want to create a VPC, you want to provision some S3 buckets or load balancer or CloudWatch, CloudFront, Glaciers. Um, so this everything you can easily provision using Terraform, but using Ansible, I'm not telling that it is not possible. They also have their modules that you can use it, but they are not as good as the Terraform. So that's why I will not say which is good or which is bad. Instead of that, it depends where you are using. So Ansible will be used for configuration and Terraform for the resource provisioning. Right. Okay. So might be what I will do that I will start a course for and I will just put an outline of what we are trying to cover for the Azure DevOps pipeline and for the Terraform and for the Ansible and for the PowerShell. I will try to touch all of them. I will start from the basics, right? If things are okay, you can tell me. I will skip it. Okay, so I can proceed in that way. So it's my first session, right? So I'm just trying to understand how many people have joined. Okay, okay. So there are how many participants? Okay, 7 to 8. Okay. So just wanted to know which time would be good for you? Morning, 9 to 10. Is that be okay? Or any time other times you are expecting?
That should be fine. So, Prashant, one last question. So, are you saying that we need to have a basic understanding of Python and you will teach us how to automate things using Python? Or will you be teaching Python as well?
Uh, I, uh, I will teach you Python. It's no problem. It's a basic here, but Python would be used less actually. Mostly you'd be
Hmm.
using the Terraform, Ansible, Azure DevOps pipeline, because a
Okay.
Python could be just kind of cell scripting. So normally where I have used Python, I have used Python for machine learning. If like NumPy, SciPy, right, machine learning tools. So there I use Python because there Python works as a good thing. But here when I come to the resource processing, it becomes difficult to adjust Python there. I'm not saying it cannot be used, it is used, but not as much as compared to the Terraform, Ansible, PowerShell like that. Okay. So I
Okay.
think yeah. So we'll start on Monday then from 9 to 10. Is that be okay? Monday, right? Next one will be on Monday.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can ping me over the chat what is your expectation and what are you currently doing. I will tune my syllabus and teaching as per that. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So thank you everyone. So after that, I'm just finding it, and we'll meet you again on Monday. Thank you everyone. Have a nice day.